Well, ANCA's Xoli Mngambi is at those hearings in Parktown in Johannesburg. He joins us now live. Xoli, it was slightly bizarre in some ways to see Vytjie Mentor be so nervous when she is known to be so outspoken. And she was sort of uncertain about certain points. She got some names wrong. We're set to hear more from her at the inquiry today.
Indeed, Michelle, a very different Vytjie Mentor as opposed to the one that is usually very verbose, if you like, on Facebook platforms, for example, detailing the kind of shenanigans that the Zuma administration was up to alongside the Gupta brothers and, of course, the former president's son, Duduzane. And, of course, the whole issue about getting people's names wrong, very disconcerting, if you like, Michelle, where she mistakens Brian Hlongwa, who is the ANC chief whip here in Gauteng province, and of course the former health minister, confusing him with Fana Hlongwane, who is, for lack of a better word, someone who was working closely, it would appear, with Duduzane Zuma and the Guptas. But let's get into just some of the detail that she gave yesterday, which should possibly give us a link as to why the Gupta family was very intent on making sure that they work with government, and in particular, Michelle, this whole issue around nuclear. It came up again, having listened to it, of course, last week during former Deputy Finance Minister Mngambi Jonas's testimony. And of course, Erin Bates joins me now, who has been following this particular inquiry. Erin, so Vytjie Mentor once again makes reference to a nuclear deal. She becomes the second person to do that. And remember that last week, Mngambi Jonas says they came under immense pressure at cabinet. In fact, it became a hostile environment for the Treasury officials there. So Vytjie Mentor mentions it again here this time around.
Yes, there's congruence there between their two testimonies, that Mngambi Jonas said there was this animosity between National Treasury and then President Jacob Zuma because Treasury wasn't convinced that the nuclear deal in its form was a viable option. And Vytjie Mentor saying yesterday that when she went to the Gupta's house, unbeknownst to her that she was going, when she'd come to Johannesburg, she says, to see the president, this Gupta brother not only said, if you cancel the Johannesburg-Mumbai route, we can put in a word with you for the president as Minister of Public Enterprises, which is a job you may well want, but also you could be helpful and useful to us in terms of the nuclear deal. You come from the Northern Cape, and we know that there's a fair amount of uranium in the Northern Cape, and we want to be the key uranium supplier in this new nuclear deal. And about that other project you've been working on with this pebble bed, we're going to kill it. Or he didn't say that. He said, we understand it's going to be shut down because it's been wasteful. So they were really eyeing this new nuclear deal, something that congrues with what Jonas was talking about.
Then, Erin, we know at this point that the former ANC MP and, of course, the former chair of the Public Enterprises Committee in Parliament, Vytjie Mentor, has yet to meet the president, former President Jacob Zuma. But she's already been offered this post, just like Mngambi Jonas is offered. But who makes this offer to her?
Yes, she says it was Atul Gupta who made this offer. She said they'd met previously the same day, on Monday, in Johannesburg at the Sahara Computers office, and he'd offered her a cricket bat for her son, who she'd mentioned was playing for Western Province. Also dropped information on the fact that the family had a suite at Newlands if she was interested in going and watching cricket there. And that resonates with Johan Boyson's version of events, former Hawks head, when he went to the Gupta compound and they asked after his son and made some inferences that they could possibly work with his son on some business ventures. So this seems to be a tactic that the Gupta brothers use. So she met Atul Gupta at Sahara Computers, although she says she thought she was going straight to see the president. From there, she was driven to the Saxonwold property she didn't know, and their advocate Xoli was pressing her on why didn't you ask where you were going, what was happening, and so on. And Vytjie Mentor said she assumed because she'd received a call from the presidency and this was all sort of done at the behest of the presidency, that she was in good hands. And then she goes in, she has this bizarre experience which involves golden bathrooms and being sort of knelt before by a private chef of the Gupta families, and then she orders mutton curry and chai tea, but I'm I too, like her, am getting sidetracked here. But eventually she's cornered in a corridor of the family property by Atul Gupta. She says he makes this offer around the nuclear deal, around the SAA route. But at this point, we have no information on where the then president was.
Just as we wrap up then, Erin, some people who were implicated here during her testimony, one of those is the Chief of Staff of the former President, Lakela Kaunda. She's indicated that she wants to dispute Vytjie Mentor's version of events. What is the standpoint of the Commission on the part of people who are implicated or whose names have been mentioned, and they want to essentially rebut what has been said? What is the position?
So at this point, the position we have on record is in the rules. And the rules state anyone implicated will be notified by the Commission in the form of a letter. We know, for example, former President Jacob Zuma received 3 letters from the inquiry by the Friday before things proceeded with public hearings last week, Monday. And from there, they then have 2 weeks to make representations on what they want to do. Now, many of the people who've been implicated, Kaunda, for example, have indicated to the inquiry what response they would like to give, whether they just want to make a statement. Kaunda, for example, saying she did not talk to Vytjie Mentor at all in 2010, or whether they want to cross-examine. And what we heard yesterday, which is crucial, is that a member of the legal team, Advocate Vincent Maleka, has told the chair of this inquiry, Deputy Chief Justice Raymond Zondo, that it is now urgent. It is urgent that Zondo make a decision on what to do with these applications for cross-examination. And Maleka and the legal team are very strongly arguing it should be tit for tat. If you say you want to come here and cross-examine a witness in the inquiry, you too must be willing to take the responsibility of sitting in the witness box and undergoing cross-examination yourself. And he's urged Zondo to make a decision on that before we go forward. And so that will be the first item on the agenda today before Mentor resumes.
All right, thank you very much, my colleague Erin Bates, who has been following the state capture inquiry here, Michelle. And of course, as you heard, these applications by people who are implicated, they're going to be dealt with first here before the Commission resumes with Vytjie Mentor's testimony. As to whether the former government spokesperson and head of GCIS, Themba Masego, is going to immediately come after Vytjie Mentor, that's a bit unclear at this stage, but it does appear that he is going to be here at some point this week.
Yeah, Xoli, I think according to his Twitter account at least, that he will be there. He has confirmed on social media that in fact his testimony has been moved up on the agenda of the state capture inquiry. My colleague Xoli Mngambi live to us there in Parktown in Johannesburg at the venue of the state capture inquiry. Just as soon as it resumes this morning, we will take you there live.